Hello, welcome to Photoics. In this video I'm going to go through the basic settings of the Nikon D3100. I'm going to presume in this video this is your first DSLR and that you have no previous experience. So this is just going to go through basically how to get your camera to take pictures after you've taken it out of the box, and some of the settings that you might find you need to use. Okay, so first of all we need to attach the lens to the camera. The lens I have here is the 18 to 55mm VR that came with the kit, and we need to attach it to the camera. So first of all we need to take off this cover, just twist it in the direction that the arrow shows you, and then you need to take off the rear cap of the lens. Again, twist it in the direction that the arrow shows, and then you'll see on the lens that there's a white dot, and you'll see on the camera that there's a white dot as well. Simply line up the two white dots and then twist the camera until you hear it click. So we'll do that again. Line up the two white dots and then twist till you hear it click. Okay, so that's the lens now mounted on the camera. So let's turn the camera on now. Now I've got this set up in guide mode, which if you're new to photography I recommend that you start with first. As you can see, there's three different icons on the screen. It says shoot, view delete and setup. So we're going to go into shoot, so just press the OK button and you'll see it says easy operation, advanced operation or use a timer. So I'm going to go and press OK on easy operation, and then you'll get several different menu options again: auto, no flash, distant subjects, close-ups, sleeping faces, moving subjects, landscapes, portraits, night portrait. Now these are the sorts of types of photos that you might want to take. So choose the one that best suits the photo that you want to take, or if you're not really sure, go for auto. In this instance I'm just going to choose auto. The camera tells you then that the camera is now in auto mode. Simply press the shutter button to take pictures in almost any conditions. This means that the camera will set itself up for the optimum shooting of whatever subject you decide to take a picture of. And you've got two options again: more settings or start shooting. I'm going to click OK on start shooting, and then you get three more options: use the viewfinder, use live view or shoot movies. Now if you've never used a camera before, you might not be used to using the viewfinder, which is this piece here. So you might want to use live view, which displays the picture live on this big screen here. I'm going to go for use the viewfinder. I recommend that you try and get used to using the viewfinder. It's a much better way of working, I think. Okay, so once you press that, the info screen comes up, and this tells you all the information that you need to know about the settings on the camera. There's many different parts here. Some of it will mean nothing to you at the moment, but the basic elements that you need to know are these bits here. You'll see there's a big circle with dots around it. There's like a fraction number, and then there's another number preceded by an F, and these are your shutter speed and your aperture. The shutter speed is the speed that the camera will fire, and the aperture is the size of the hole in the lens. And you'll see once you get more into photography and learn about aperture and depth of field, you will see on this circle scale here that as you change the aperture, this picture actually changes. You might be able to see it now, it's doing it by itself. The smaller the number, the bigger the aperture is, the bigger the hole is, so it lets in more light. Okay, so we're on auto. got our lens on, the camera is ready to take a picture. It's set everything up for me, I don't need to do anything else at this stage. So to take the picture, you have to press this silver button, which is the shutter button, and that activates the autofocus. So just press it down halfway and you'll see and hear the lens make a noise for the autofocus. If you're looking through the viewfinder, you'll see several red dots in the viewfinder. These are the focus points that are being used. You might see several light up in this mode. And if you look down in the bottom left hand corner, you should see a green dot come up when the subject is in focus, and it might even beep depending on how you've set your camera up. So once you've half pressed this shutter button down, press it the rest of the way. The flash might pop up if the camera feels it's necessary, and you can take the picture. So that's the really basic operation of the camera. That is how to take a picture without doing absolutely anything to the camera at all. You don't have to know anything about the settings, you don't have to know anything about photography. That's just a point and shoot, let the camera do everything for you. Once you've decided that you want to advance your photography a bit further, you have several options available to you. You can either stay in this guide mode, and instead of choosing easy operation, you can choose advanced operation, and you see this will give you several more options of different types of photos to choose from. You see it says soften backgrounds, bring more into focus, freeze motion of people, freeze motion of vehicles, and show water flowing. If we press OK on soften backgrounds, this then tells you exactly how to do that. So in this occasion, the camera won't set it up for you, but it tells you exactly what to do to get the effect that you're after. For example, I press soften backgrounds and it's told me to choose the A mode, which is aperture priority, and then it tells me that the small value softens the backgrounds. So what it's telling me is to put the camera into the A, and then it's telling me to choose an aperture number, which remember was the number preceded by the F, to make it as low as possible. And you can see on the screen when I change this aperture, you can see, as I mentioned earlier, that hole there getting bigger and smaller. So remember, a smaller hole lets in less light and a bigger hole lets in more light. On this particular lens, the lowest I can go is f3.5, and f3.5 will give me a nice soft background from the subject. As much as this lens can give, obviously it's not going to be as good as, say, an f2.8 lens or an f1.8 lens, but for portraits and things like that, when your subject is further away from the background, that should make the background nice and smooth and out of focus. So once you've got yourself out of guide mode, which is the very basic takes you through step by step, you might want to advance into some of these other settings that we've got here. The next one down from guide mode is the green one, which is auto. This is very similar to guide mode, except it doesn't take you through step by step. It just automatically chooses the settings and lets you take the photo. So we're in auto mode now, and say I see something that I want to quickly take a photo of, I just half press the shutter and take the picture. But it's not telling me anything, it's not telling me what it's doing, it's not telling me how to do it myself, it's just going to get on and do it by itself. Further around we have these little icons on the mode dial. These represent different settings, optimum settings for the type of picture that the icon represents. You see the first one looks like an arrow with a cross through it. That means no flash, so that will disable the flash completely. So that's really good if you're somewhere where it won't allow flash, but you want to take pictures but you're not entirely sure what settings you need to use, and you don't want the flash popping up by itself and then you get told off by the security guards or whatever. The next one is a picture of a person with a hat on. This is the portrait mode, so that will set the camera up for portraits. The next one is a picture of a mountain, so that's obviously for landscapes. So that'll set up the optimum settings for a landscape photo. The next one is a child, I think. So that's obviously pictures of children. And the next one is a running man, so that's your sport mode. That'll give you a really fast shutter speed to freeze motion. This next one often confuses people. It's a picture of a flower, but it's not flower mode, or it's not plant mode, or anything like that. This is actually macro mode, which in itself is quite deceiving as well. Many people think when they put the camera into macro mode, it's instantly going to allow them to shoot macro photographs, but that's not the case. Simply all this does is set up the aperture and the shutter speed for a good macro photograph. So it will give you quite a small aperture to get maximum depth of field. To get true macro photographs, you'll need a macro lens or a macro attachment of some description. The next one is a picture of a person with a star behind them. This is your night shot mode, and this will raise the flash automatically usually. And that will fire the flash, but it will also keep the shutter speed quite slow, so the flash will expose the person or the subject, but you'll also get the ambient light of the background in to get a nice kind of balanced night shot. Then you get on to the manual modes, which are in their own little box in here. M is fully manual, where you choose your own shutter speed and your own aperture and every other setting. A we spoke about just now, which is aperture priority. You select the aperture of the camera and the camera selects the shutter speed. S is shutter priority. You choose the shutter speed and the camera selects the aperture. And then P is program auto. This is a kind of semi-automatic mode. It's a series of preset combinations of shutter speed and aperture that you can change. As you change, you can't change a separate thing, you can't change the aperture. You sort of go up in increments and it will automatically change both for you. And then back into guide mode. Okay, so that's all you need to know basically to start shooting with the camera. Any of these modes will get you a good photograph, but as you progress your photography and as you get used to the camera and learn what the different settings do, I recommend you start using the other modes that we have here, the M, A, S and P modes. They'll really help you get to grips with aperture and shutter speed, and it's good for you to practice with and to learn. That's the brilliant thing with digital, is you can take as many pictures as you like. You can always delete them if they're no good, and you don't have to wait for the film to be processed. You can see the results instantly. Okay, so I'll do another video shortly, more in depth into some of these different modes and different settings on the camera, but hopefully that will get you to take a few pictures straight away. I know how much it's exciting when you get a new camera like this. You just want to go out and take as many pictures as possible, and often with a DSLR the first few pictures you take you'll be really disappointed with, especially if you're used to a compact camera where it does everything for you and the pictures come out really good. Sometimes when you first use a DSLR and you're not quite sure what the settings do, it can be quite disheartening when your first photo comes out completely black or completely white or really blurry. That's what's great about the D3100 with the guide mode. If you know in your head what picture you want, there's a listing in the camera for you. If you know that you want the background to be blurred out, you just select that and it will set the camera up for you. Okay, I hope that was of some help. Thanks very much.